Good evening and welcome to Law Talk, the show that brings the Constitution, the law, and the events of today to you each month. What's our final story for tonight, Mark?
This is Rand.
Is this a little more happy than the last one we just went through?
That was fun. Okay, no, this is Rand Paul versus the NSA.
Oh, the NSA. Well, are we talking about that 2-mile complex in the middle of the Utah that captures every communication that anyone does from anywhere in this country and around the world?
In the interest of saving the world.
Oh, in the interest of saving the world.
They're always saving the world.
Do you know what I understand?
Yeah.
There's not been one terrorist arrested from an NSA wiretap.
Yeah, but the thing is, there might be someday.
There might be someday.
Yeah.
So we got to listen to every call before then.
So anyway, I guess Rand Paul initiated a lawsuit some time ago, right?
No, actually he filed, this is interesting, today, he filed a class action lawsuit against the NSA saying that, and funny enough, guess who supports him?
Does he have standing?
Who? Yes, he does, because he uses telecommunications.
Okay.
And you know who is now?
Bernie Sanders is with him.
Bernie Sanders is with him.
That's
what's interesting.
That's great.
This is one of the.
I don't agree with Bernie, but I like him.
I'm telling you, if you're talking about politics and strange bedfellows, this is one of them.
Right.
You've got people on the far right that are with him. You got people on the far left that are with him. You got the American Civil Liberties Union with them, and you got what is effectively, allegedly, a GOP presidential candidate filing the class action.
Well,
so what are we supposed to say?
I mean, here, what Rand Paul did, he stood up and he did a filibuster and he stalled. And so what they always do with these bills is like, oh my gosh, the bill runs out. It's like a 3-year bill, right? And then the day before it runs out, it's like, oh, we got to pass it because we ran out of time.
Wait a minute, we're talking about the Patriot Act.
Yeah, and so what Rand Paul says, like, look, you knew this was going to expire for 3 years. And now you're telling me that we can't discuss it because we didn't have time to discuss it before the day that it ran out. And they said, okay, if you oppose this thing, right, and anyone gets killed, you're a mass murderer, right? And Rand Paul said, okay, whatever. But this thing where they always wait to the last minute, you got to pass the bill because we don't have time. But it's always like that. It's like
I hate to give everyone a little update for next time, but we're going to be talking about the new trade bill that allows unlimited immigration. But we're not going to get to that this time.
No, go that.
You got to pass the bill before you can read it. And then we can find out what it says.
Well, it's like Obamacare.
Obamacare. You got to pass it. If you want to
really know what the bill does, you have to pass it, and then you'll find out what's in it.
Well, this is like, no, but I mean, you go back to Caligula, go to Napoleon, and they did this.
But I didn't marry a horse.
But you don't know. But the point is, like,
she didn't look that bad.
Despots have always used plebiscites like this, and they've always used these techniques like, oh, we don't have time to look at it because it's an emergency. Everything's an emergency.
Everything's an emergency.
If you put it off for 3 years. And so he stood up and said no. And so the Patriot Act didn't pass. They had to back down. And, the so-called, whatever you call them, the fake Republicans, Bonner and who was the senator guy?
Boehner,
and who's the other guy?
McConnell.
Those two guys who are basically work for.
Nah, they work for the highest payer.
They work for Obama.
Yeah.
And so like those guys are all like, oh no, and so those guys you would expect to be with Obama because they are always not with, because they just make anything that raises taxes and spends more money.
Well, anything that gives more money back to their constituents is where they go.
Yeah. So it was Rand Paul, but also against Marco Rubio and Cruz. Cruz were on the other side of this.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying. You got the American Civil Liberties
Union
Bernie with
Sanders.
Rand Paul.
And
you got Bernie Sanders
with Rand Paul.
Yeah. And you got Cruz and Rubio over here. Well,
with
allegedly,
Obama.
With Obama. And the president's saying, no, we have to pass this.
Oh, everyone will die. Well, everyone will die.
We're all going to die.
We're going to die.
The terrorists are coming across the border.
We're all going to die.
Yeah.
And so what?
Along with that 10, 15 million that we're all letting in anyway. What's a few extra terrorists amongst friends?
We're paying to come in. Okay, but so this comes down to generalized warrants, right? And what they did was
generalized warrants.
So in other words,
it's supposed to go through the vice accord.
Okay, well the vice accord is like a mockery of anything. That's like saying the police are issuing their own warrants. I mean, it's just a mockery of any kind of system.
Well, it is a mockery.
It's just a joke. So
Who pays their bill?
But they're just. It's just like it's basically the fox got in the hen house there.
Yeah.
And so, but the generalized warrant. So in other words, if they don't say, well, there's a guy that we suspect of being a bad guy that uses a AT&T phone or whatever, a Verizon phone. you know, they said, we're going to inspect every single Verizon phone user. Every call.
Well, you know why? You've got to check everybody's phone.
Every single person.
You just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and so that's a generalized warrant. Now, and this goes back to when they made the Constitution, and you're supposed to be secure in your house.
That's called the Fourth Amendment.
The Fourth Amendment. You're supposed to be secure in your belongings, your house.
And your papers.
Your papers. Now, in those days, you know, you
didn't have cell phones.
Yeah, you had your papers in your house, and so what they were saying, well, you can't come in the house and look at my papers without a warrant. You got to go to a judge. You know, a different branch of government, right?
Right.
The police can't enter unless a judge gives them a warrant.
Correct. The judicial has to back up the executive.
But nowadays, your papers are here.
Well, no, the worst part is your papers aren't here. They're in the cloud. And they're out in space. Well, and so your papers are no longer in your phone.
Okay,
they actually travel.
Yeah.
And so the problem with that is they're saying how they're trying to pull this, get rid of the Fourth Amendment on cell phone communication, is that you do not own the airwave that you're practicing on. Well, so it becomes open to the public.
Well, also, when you look at your phone, I mean, this has got your calendar, it's got your emails, it's got where you've been. It's
I hate to see some of the pictures on that phone.
It's got your GPS, where you've been. Everything's on this phone. And so if they can search anyone's phone at any time they want, I mean, that's complete violation of the Fourth Amendment. And
well, wait a minute. The Supreme Court has come down in the last 2 months and said you cannot search. Well, no, I'm not talking about the second district. Yeah, I'm talking not the second district. I'm talking about cell phones and how you can just pick them up and search them as a police officer. They said that's totally illegal now. So I thought that
if you had a good cipher.
Well, the way they're looking at it right now, we do know that the second appellate division said that they're going to give back the Patriot Act powers. They're saying that they shouldn't have been wiped out. And they're actually siding with the government on this. And what's interesting is Rand Paul, as much as he can speak his piece and all of that, there's enough people that are saying that the Patriot Act actually is there for a reason, and we're supposed to be protected from terrorism. And if terrorism means that we give up all of our freedoms, we're going to have to give them all up.
But the Patriot Act's a joke. I mean, you've got millions of people crossing the border willy-nilly. What's the?
I mean, Willie and Neely?
Yeah, Willie and Neely. I mean,
I'm talking about Jose and Carlos.
Well, no, anybody. No, there's all kinds of people from Yemen coming.
Oh, I know.
There's people from all over just crossing the border, and then they get a tip or whatever.
Mohammed and Mahmoud as well.
Yeah, and so, I mean, the Patriot Act doesn't do anything. The Patriot Act is just, I mean, there's no reason you can't get a specific warrant under the Fourth Amendment, go to a regular judge. Now, there's judges that are on call 24 hours a day. And if they're worried that some person's going to be a terrorist or something, they can call a judge and give their probable cause and get a warrant and go search his phone.
Well, I tell you what, Mark.